Living green or sustainably is about more than saving on your electric bill and doing your part to protect natural resources. It is about a safer and healthier life for you and your family without sacrificing style, quality, or budget. This is a movement to provide all of us with clean air to breathe and water to drink, safe, healthy food to eat, and places to live, and energy to run the places where we live, learn, play, and work. The Everyday Green Home Podcast helps you get the value of green for you, your family, and your community. Whether it's green homes, green living, or the people who make it happen, join me, Marla Esser Close, to learn how green and sustainability practices and products work for you and our world. Welcome to the Everyday Green Home Podcast. I am still learning to say that without tripping over my tongue. I am Marla, the Green Home Coach, and joining me today is my very popular and very frequent guest co-host, Tony Pratte from good old St. Louis. How are you today, Tony?
Popular? Who you been talking to?
Well, you're popular in my book.
Well, okay, popular with one person.
And I can't tell you how many people I talk to and go, hey, that guy that you podcast with. Tony? Yes.
The clown guy.
Well, and we are recording in April, so we're still in the pandemic, even though this episode won't be out in the world for a few months.
And we might as well tell people we're doing it at a socially responsible social distance.
Yeah.
How many hundreds of miles away?
I think it's 473, last time I checked. But that may not be to your house. That was to my old house.
I will say this, though. Between me and the laptop, it's closer than 6 feet. So I'll try not to get...
I don't breathe on your laptop. No, every morning I'm wiping everything down. But this has been and continues to be an experience that will go down in history for everybody, for the world. And one of the things that's been so interesting about this that actually will segue into our topic today quite nicely is that we've slowed down enough to start taking notice of a lot of things around us. And I cannot tell you how many people I am talking with that have really all kind of arrived at the same conclusion that slowing down has been good in a lot of respects. And granted, there's been a lot of downside. I mean, the economic impact has been huge and the people sick has been huger. But I have heard so many people say that just kind of getting back to basics.
Well, and you do make a good point. Let's take the negative part of it out of, the job loss and sickness and death. But those of that...
Bad parts.
Right. Those of us that are experiencing this that haven't had any of that happen to us, now all of a sudden we're in the house. Well, maybe our income has changed. I'll be honest, mine has.
Ours has too.
But what it's allowed us to do is kind of take stock in everything that we're doing, reassess our values, reassess the budget, reassess just the general health of ourselves and our families as a whole. And I'm not talking just, they're not sick. I'm talking mind, body, spirit, you name it. The entire structure is being reanalyzed over these last couple months, and people are making changes based on what they're finding.
And we're all living in our homes. I keep saying this, living in our homes really hard. Our homes are the center of everything right now. And before, for us at least, and I think for most of my friends, it's been more of kind of home base. And now we're living, working, playing, cooking, schooling, everything, shopping, everything. So, which is why I'm so excited. So today I want to talk about what I call incremental green. And why I'm so excited to talk about this is because as we spend more and more time in our homes, I'll get that right, we're recognizing things about our homes that we want to change, or that we had a long honey-do list that we're now working on to get things done. We have a long list on the refrigerator that we're just working our way through. As time allows or as our priorities allow, that's the stuff that we've been wanting to get done. So we're just working on it. And I've talked to a lot of people that are the same way. So this whole concept of incremental green is as you do the normal stuff in your house, you maintain, take care of it, you upgrade it, you replace stuff. As you do that normal activity, think of the next step? How can you take that particular thing, activity, an appliance or a material or a process? How can you take it up a next level so that it provides a better, maybe a healthier, maybe a safer, maybe more comfortable experience for all of you living in your home? So you don't have to do it all at once, just as you go.
And what you're talking about is everything that's fairly simple to do. It's time to paint the house. Hey, okay, great. I got to get paint. Well, instead of getting just whatever you usually buy, check and make sure if it's a no VOC paint.
Yep.
Or, my thermostat went down. I got to get a new one. It could be, well, instead of just getting the cheapest one I can find, maybe spend a little bit more money and get the Ecobee or a Nest. That way you've got a learning thermostat that in the long run, might be a little bit more expensive, but it's going to save you money over 10 years. I'm guessing that's where you're kind of going.
It will save you money. It'll save you frustration. I can't tell you how many times I get out the door and I'm like, oh, gosh, darn it. We're not on our regular schedule today, but I forgot to adjust the heat or the air. Easy peasy. Just do it from my app.
Absolutely.
But I have a schedule set, so hopefully it outsmarts me most of the time.
Well, anytime you go that route where it's more of a smart or an automated piece, that's the idea. Let that do the thinking for you. That way you don't have to ever worry about it.
Right. And that's what we really like. And your incremental green might be adding some apps and some smart home capabilities to your home. We did a whole podcast on that for our listeners. If you go back and search on the podcast on the website, you can find the one where we talked about home automation and control. And there's some really cool things that you can do to your home that are not real hard. And not real expensive. I was really surprised. I really thought it would cost a lot more. So it was a great investment in your home, I think.
Yeah, but that's just technology. It's the normal pathway. The more prevalent it becomes, the cheaper it gets. You make a great point. Maybe you've got a project in your living room or kitchen or bedroom or whatever room you happen to be trying to work on because you're tired of looking at it because you've been looking at it for the last 2 months. Make your list, and then outside of your normal, thoughts and items that you want to replace, think about, what else could I do? Well, I'm buying some new lamps. Oh, you know what? It'd be great to put those on a timer.
Yeah.
Or it'd be great to put those in an outlet that you can turn on and off. So there's a lot of easy ways to do it, but you just have to kind of think and make that next step of,
right.
Well, what would make this a little bit more green?
It's a new habit. So in addition to energy efficient bulbs or an energy efficient fixture, you also can think the next step. So it's really kind of boils down to almost like a product swap or a practice swap. And a lot of the stuff that we're doing when we're maintaining our homes and upgrading is stuff. It's appliance, it's light bulbs, it's paint, it's cleaning. It's all the stuff that we typically use in our house. And because of that, it gives us this opportunity to think of it in terms of product swaps. I used to do a workshop called Buy This, Not That. And that was exactly what it was based on. It was, here's your alternatives. To any of our listeners, by the way, if you want to know what kinds of things are available for a product swap, if you'll go to the Green Home Coach website, you can schedule a free consult with me, and I'll do a 20-minute consult with you and give you some starter tips. So I can help you start thinking in the mode of what some of those product swaps could be for your particular situation. So feel free to take me up on it. I'd love to help you out. But I think the way I think about it is there's kind of the everyday stuff I do, kind of the living part of my home, how I'm taking care of things and cleaning products and things like that. So that's kind of the umbrella, if you will, the living part. And then I find it's really easy to kind of break this down in the 5 different categories that we're typically looking at for green and greener things. So I think that might be the easiest way to approach this. And we're going to take a break here in a second. But when we come back, we're going to look at different ways that you could do product swaps, incrementally green, and the 5 different areas where green can affect your home. So that's the place where your home sits, like on the land. That's stuff. That's all the materials and the different things that we bring into our house to make it a house, or better yet, a home. That's energy, water, and breathing, which is our indoor air quality. So those are the 5 different categories. And when we come back from break, we will do a deep dive into a couple of ideas for each category. Hang on. Hey, this is Marla Close, the Green Home Coach, and I am the author of Living Green Effortlessly, Simple Choices for a Better Home. And in this book, besides talking about a bunch of stuff about green and sustainability products and practices you can easily take in your home, also talk about home maintenance and how important this is to having a home that serves you rather than you serving it. Seasonal home maintenance checklists are a big part of this, and I teamed up with colleague Tina Gleisner from Home Tips for Women to use her maintenance checklist, actually included in the book, starting on page 96. And if you have the book, look them up. But I wanted to give you a brief excerpt from the book to get you excited about why home maintenance checklists, I know that doesn't sound very exciting, but why they are so important. So, maintaining a home is actually a 3-part ongoing process: inspect, maintain, and update. To help you keep track of what you've done and plan to do, make notes on the checklist. First, inspect. If you've only got an hour to spare, pick one exterior side of the house or one room inside to inspect. Note the date you did this on the checklist and flag items needing maintenance or repairs so you can schedule time or make a list for your handyman or handywoman. Second, maintain. Keep your home safe, such as smoke detector batteries. Keep your home energy efficient, like furnace air filters, and prolong the useful life of many home features, like caulking bathroom tile. Write it down when you complete a task, keeps you from guessing later on. And third, update. Take advantage of improved materials and fixtures, upgrade to new building codes, and evaluate when it makes more sense to make an improvement rather than repair, such as replacing a bathroom floor rather than repairing the grout. Check out the book or give me a holler and I'll hook you up online to get the maintenance checklist for yourself. If you'd like to have the entire book, please go to livinggreenbook.com for a multitude of ways to purchase it for yourself. Thanks again. This is Marla, the Green Home Coach. Well, back on the Everyday Green Home podcast, talking about ways that you can green up your home or incrementally green it. And yes, I used green as a verb, but I think of it that way. You know, I think of things that I can do that green up my life or green up my house.
It kind of has a lot of different connotations now, doesn't it?
Oh gosh, there's so many different things that green means. And that's why, you know, as we've gone through the podcast and the different ways that we teach and I teach and information is help people to put some parameters around what that means for a home, because there's so many different ways of thinking of it. And they're all, you know, they all have a place because there's a whole bunch of different perspectives. And even with a home, I mean, there's many, many, many components in a house. So there's a lot of things to think about. And that's why I like thinking of things in those 5 different categories, because it helps us not be out in outer space. We can at least stay on one planet. So,
well, it allows you to organize your thoughts too.
Exactly.
It brings, if you can categorize it in those 5 groups, it allows people to really wrap their heads around it, because
that's my hope.
Yeah, somebody that is really not experienced in this world, you know, they just hear this green and it's this, oh my God, overreaching umbrella. And I don't even know where to start.
Right.
Last time I checked with these 5 groups, you're going to tell our listeners exactly how to start.
So I have a great idea from you saying that, Tony. I will, in the last segment, because we'll do this segment and then we do one more. So for y'all that stick around till the end, I will give you my favorite top 3 things to do in your homes to get you started on a greener path. They're super easy, and then hopefully they'll give you a laugh. So will you remind me?
I will.
Good. Okay. So 5 different categories in our homes, right? So the first one I like to think about is place. So this is where the home sits, how it interacts with the land. And some really great things that you can do here is, first of all, understand the orientation of your home. So just walk around inside and out and see if you have windows that are really glary Is that a word? They get a lot of glare, or they get a lot of heat in the summer. And a lot of people jump to the conclusion that they need new windows. And there's a lot of things you can do way before new windows. You can caulk around your windows and the sills, and that'll help cut down on the airflow. And that's super easy. A tube of caulk is your good friend in a home. But you could put window treatments up. You can put blinds or curtains, and just having those windows covered will help reduce the glare. Even if it's a transparent or an opaque window covering, it'll cut down on the glare and the heat a lot. If you need something more serious, I had the honeycomb blinds in one of my houses where I had really strong west sun. And that was a huge help because I couldn't shade the outside of the windows. But you mentioned that, the shading, because you have a really shady yard, don't you?
I've got a really shady yard because I do what's known as, passive solar shading, which means I have a lot of trees.
Yeah, good old trees.
You know what? Nature's shade right there.
So we also did a podcast that ran a few weeks ago on landscaping for beauty and comfort. And we talk about some of those strategies in that podcast. So listeners, if you haven't heard it, you may want to go back to it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky because I've got, a lot of trees that shade the front of my house. I have a north facing house, which is.
We do too.
Yeah. Basically means when the summer sun is directly overhead, the front half of my house is pretty much shaded by the trees in the front yard.
So that's a super easy way to approach some of it. The other one that's super easy is all of the landscaping and, all this stuff that's happening outside of your home happens in this category. So having, plant a trellis with shading on it or with ivy or climbing flowers. I can't even think today. Use native flowers and plants in your yard. That'll cut down on what you need to take care of them. And there's a host of benefits there. And that's a super easy way to start. Put in pollinator plants so that you attract the butterflies and the bumblebees. Or a rain barrel. We talked about that one, although you did have a funny comment about rain barrels.
Well, with rain barrels, just make sure that they're legal in your municipality.
That sounds funny, but we actually found 2 states where the amount of water that you can collect in a rain barrel is limited, but you can have them. And as far as we could find, all 50 states. So, but check your municipality.
They might be legal in states, but make sure that they're also wanted in your municipality. Your community, your homeowner association, you just never know.
And so get you started with that. Let's move to the stuff. And this one, in a lot of regards, this is all the materials and the products that come together to make a house a home. So this could be as simple as finding recycled materials to put in your home, or maybe bio-based or wood-based. So things that come from fast generating plants. Bamboo is the one that comes to mind the most frequently, but it's also coming from a long way away, which that's the other tenet here. Find things that are local, because then we're not paying for all the transportation cost. And if it's a heavy product, can you imagine all the transportation costs that's going to be wrapped up in that? That's why houses here are brick, because we have a lot of clay and we do a lot of brick here.
Well, same with St. Louis. It's not just the transportation costs, it's the transportation impact you have to think about as well.
Yeah.
One thing you did forget when you're talking recycled or, local material, what about reused?
Yes, absolutely reused. And secondhand stores. I can't say shops and stores together, can I?
No.
That's a great idea. And anything like if you can repurpose part of the home, like if you're tearing up, let's say you got a weekend warrior project and you're tearing up a wall, and maybe there's something in that wall that you're able to reuse somewhere else in the home.
Or even a Habitat for Humanity, like the restores.
Like restore, yeah. Hey, I even found a company up northeast, that does kind of like what Habitat does, but they do it for luxury kitchens. And then people can buy a luxury kitchen to put in their homes instead of buying a brand new kitchen and get it at a much lesser price than what something new would cost. So there's all kinds of really good options out there.
Yeah, well, that's a great one because you have an impact on your budget.
Yes.
Plus, you have an impact on not having to go out and buy something brand new. That does have an environmental impact as well. That's the green approach. People might not think of it that way, but it is.
Yep. So next is the one that we all tend to think of first, and that's energy efficiency. And, I think we really forget how many things in our home use energy.
Everything.
everything, especially now.
Whether it's on or not.
Yes.
You have that draw.
So the easiest answer there is if you are buying anything new, just look for Energy Star, repair whatever you can. And if you can, if you haven't done it yet, upgrade your light bulbs or your lighting to LEDs. So much more efficient. You get really great light with them. There's tons and tons of options, but that's an easy one.
I have one other easy idea as well for energy.
Yeah.
Go to a Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever, even Amazon, and get the plugs that you can turn on and off remotely. Because if you have a lot of things on a surge protector, you can turn that outlet off when you're gone, and it'll reduce the phantom draw.
Yeah. And that's, oh gosh, we could do a whole talk on phantom loads, but we have so many electronics in our homes, and anything that has a remote doesn't really turn off.
Nope.
But you want to be careful, like you don't want to turn off your DVR recorder. So those split strips allow you to have part that always stays on and the other part that can go off. So that's why they're so cool. And this is also a great time if you're doing a little extra around the home is nip and tuck. Just do some air sealing with a tube of caulk wherever you've got leaks in your home. There's some online tips that help you to determine this on your own, or take advantage of that call with me and I'll walk you through the process.
Like you say, caulk is a person's best friend.
I know, it really is. So next is water. And this one, what's the number one thing you should do with water, Tony?
Conserve. Use less.
Turn it off. Yeah, conserve.
If you're shaving, don't have the water run. If you're doing dishes, don't have the water run.
Yep. That's just your easiest answer. Now, for those of us that, have kids in the household, or maybe adults that act like kids and that forget or don't remember, a little training goes a long way. But there are options. If you're doing upgrades, then pick out faucets or toilets or shower heads that have low flow water usage. Or matter of fact, you can even look for the label WaterSense. That's super easy. Out in your yard, since we're all starting to get our yards and our gardens in shape, look to go to drip hoses as opposed to sprinkling up in the wind. In Oklahoma, half of what we sprinkle goes bye-bye anyway because it's so windy. So watering low to the ground or a drip hose is really good here. So there's any way that you can think of, if we just quit wasting it, that's really the easiest answer right there. It's just not to waste it.
Well, and the nice thing about low flow is eventually that's all you're going to be able to find.
It's becoming that way already. Okay, guys, we have one more category to go, and I got to take a quick break. So we'll cover it right when we come back. 5 myths of green homes are 5 things that you probably believe about green homes that may be costing you thousands of dollars. Which myth do you hear the most? Get your copy of 5 Myths at greenhomecoach.com and click on the button for 5 Myths of Green Homes. You can also connect with me on Facebook at Green Home Coach and let me know the green home myth you hear the most. I'll also share tips, products, and resources. Be sure to download your copy of 5 Myths of Green Homes now, and then check back to learn more. So here on Everyday Green Home Podcast, I left y'all hanging.
Cliffhanger.
I know, right? I want to make sure everybody rolled back in. So we went through 5 of the 6 categories. Remember, living in your home was the first one. And then we went through place and stuff, all the things that make up your home, energy and water, conservation, efficiency, both. Turn it off when you're not using it for both. The last one's breathe. And I really wanted to cover this one last because breathe is all about the indoor air quality in our homes. And this is, several of them are tied to health and wellness, but this is the biggie. This is the one that's really tied to health and wellness. And with us spending so much time in our home right now, and it's allergy season. So a lot of us, spring, early summer, and the more stuff in your house that's irritating you, the more you're going to feel it, is my theory. At least that makes sense to me. But there's so many things that you can do as you are maintaining and upgrading, replacing stuff in your home to just improve the air quality little by little. And the first thing I would do, and I have done in my home, is I've gone to a different kind of air filter in my heating and cooling units, because our filters are actually in the returns. So, spits air out the supply and then it sucks it back in the returns. But these filters, I'm really happy with them. And it takes a little while, but we're starting to feel like we're not sneezing as much and there's not as much dust in the air. If anybody wants to know more about them, let me know and I'll get some more information to you. But that's really an easy thing to do. And actually, that's not even on my top 3. It should be, maybe. Other things, like you mentioned painting, Tony, how many people are painting a room during the pandemic because they want to spruce things up?
Oh, yeah, because they need to get it done. And, the funny thing is this topic, it really strikes to the heart of the matter for families that have an asthma sufferer.
Yeah.
Or, people that do have sensitivities to certain particulates. This is a daily battle for them. And a lot of them, without realizing that what they're doing does have a green connotation to it, have probably improved the air quality in their house just because they have somebody that suffers from a health issue.
Yeah, when my son was little, we discovered that he had very bad allergies to oak pollen. And we lived in St. Louis where there's oak trees everywhere.
Every 5 feet.
Yeah. And then we go to the lake and there were oak trees everywhere. I mean, the pollen would be just yellow on top of everything. And we really got some really good advice for him to wash his hair and take a shower every night before he went to bed. And that really helped because the pollen would settle in his hair when he was outside playing baseball or running around or playing. So that was something that really helped. Well, a good air filter kind of does the same thing for your air. It just washes that stuff. It doesn't wash it completely out, but it sucks it up and it holds it. So it's a good thought. So, where you can get rid of the stuff that you're bringing in, but if you can help not bringing it in the first place, like having paint that's lower toxin and lower VOCs, then you're just going to avoid not having to get as much stuff out of the house in the first place. That makes sense. Did I say that right?
I think you did. And the nice thing about those upgraded air filters, they do last longer. So while they're a little bit more expensive, you're not replacing them as much.
Well, the ones I'm using have a reusable aluminum frame that goes up in the return. And they have one that can be in the little slot for a whole house, where you have one filter for the whole house. So they have different variations. But I just replace the inside. I just take the frame out, take the middle out, and actually we're saving that to use for weed barrier. And then I put a new filter. It's almost like a fabric or a mesh. I don't know how to explain it. But that way, at least I'm reusing the frame. So there's some part of it's reused. But that's made a big difference. I also look really hard at what chemicals I bring into the house. Cleaning products, personal products, fragrances. I'm super sensitive to fragrances. So I can't bring in anything that's not naturally. I use essential oils a lot if I want a fragrance because I'm good with that because it's all natural.
Well, this is important too, because if we're caulking up the house,
making it tighter,
what you bring in stays in. Now, didn't you say you had a top 3 easy green steps you wanted to share with everybody?
I do. But one more thing before we leave, breathe. This is a great time, folks, to remember to run your bath fans. If you have them in your house, run them. They're not just there when the bathroom gets stinky. They're also there when the bathroom is damp from the shower or steamy. And they help to get that moisture out because that moisture, as it builds up in a closed room, such as your bathroom, can do some damage. And it can also build up mold and mildew, which is just as hard for our breathing as some of the stuff we bring in chemically to our homes. So getting that moisture out of the home with your bath fan, I know it sounds really silly, but it's really important to turn that darn thing on when you take a shower. And if you don't like your bath fan, there's some really great options out there that are much quieter. They're easy enough. You can put them in yourself in an hour or two. I think we're going to get a new one because I found out about one that's super quiet and I want to try it out. So see if I can order one. But bath fans are a great way to help get that icky air out. My highly technical term, icky air. Okay. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure everybody knows how to breathe really well in their homes.
If it's icky, mitigate it.
Right. Exactly. So at any rate, you mentioned my top 3, and these are the top 3 easy green steps that everybody should be able to take. without really any extra effort except for looking on the shelf maybe in a different place when you go shopping, or looking in a slightly different place when you do your online order, since we may all still be enjoying the benefits of online ordering for a while.
Bite your tongue.
Yeah. So number one is, when we alluded to this earlier, LED light bulbs. And if you can just replace the most frequently used light bulb in your home with an LED, you will see a difference. A lot of people have already made a switch to at least CFLs, those squiggly ones. Mine are still working in my home because my builder put a lot of them in, and we've been replacing with LEDs as we go. But if you have incandescents, the old ones with the filament, just jump straight to LEDs. Take the light bulb out, even if it still works. You're going to throw the same amount of stuff in the trash if it works or if it doesn't. And it's going to start saving you on your electricity bill the moment you put it in and use that instead of an incandescent. So that's a super easy one. And if you can, go to as much LED high efficiency lighting in your home. Lighting is actually a pretty significant part of our electric bill. Or better yet, open up the windows and have day lighting during the day. So that's also a good addition. So number two is green cleaning. And I actually I've tried all these products, right? But I'm always looking for good products that have, low or better yet, no toxins, that are natural. If you can, you can find stuff that's got a third-party label on it. Usually it's Green Seal, but a lot of times it's janitorial or business kinds of cleaners that carry that seal. I don't see it as much for residential products.
Yeah, but there's a lot.
Oh my gosh. And you walk into any store and there's, green cleaning products all over the place, and they vary. I actually use a tool that Environmental Working Group puts out to check the actual chemicals and the different products according to what they're saying. So here's the gotcha, is that companies don't have to disclose the ingredients that go into fragrance. So anytime they just say fragrance on the ingredients, there can be anything in that fragrance. A lot of fragrance is petrochemical based. And so just got a big fat question mark about what you're spraying on the countertops or using on the carpets where your baby may crawl. So your better option is to use a brand that you know is safe, is natural, and is not going to harm people. Or make your own cleaners. There's gobs and gobs of recipes out there, and vinegar, baking soda, and lemon juice are your best friends in cleaning your house. I still cannot find anything better than vinegar and water to clean my mirrors and glass, period.
Well, and I do like that item because we're spending so much time in our house, which means if we're cleaning something, we're spending additional time with whatever's left over.
Right. So you want to make it as good as possible. And then my last one, my top three, and this may make you chuckle, is to buy and use recycled toilet paper, or at least non-tree toilet paper. We're seeing more options out there like bamboo. I keep hearing rumors of hemp, but I haven't found it. We use a recycled toilet paper, and right now just finding toilet paper has been a good thing. I haven't been quite as picky, but why recycled toilet paper? Most of us, I assumed that, they kind of use the leftover bits of the tree to make toilet paper. And that's not the case. They use the logs. They use the big part of the trees to make toilet paper in many places. And some of the beautiful large, like the boreal forests in Canada, have been used for toilet paper. And I have an issue with wiping my bum and flushing down in the toilet forest. And if we're going to tear down and use big, strong, sturdy wood, I at least want it to be used in ways that will last. So there are issues abounding around everything. Happy to go into a dialogue with anybody about that. But think of the concept that you are reusing something that would be going to waste and is now being reused in a way that is not just flushing our forest down the toilet.
Well, and you make a great point, because if we can use, the big trees for structured timber, if that's what we need them for, that makes the most sense. A lot of companies are, going to tree farms, and a lot of products out there are FSC certified and all that.
Correct.
However, the recycled paper is, think of all that paper that you use in an office place that's being recycled. Well, that's what they're using,
right,
to make the toilet paper. It makes it end of life.
paper. So every time you recycle paper, it's just wood fibers, right? The fibers get shorter. So you have fewer options for what you can make it into the shorter the fibers get. Toilet paper uses really short fibers. So it's a great end of paper use for recycling paper fibers or wood fibers. So there's actually a really good white paper that I'll try to find and link in the show notes if I can find it, that talks about this very topic. And it was a real eye-opener. So there you have it, folks. My top 3. There's lots of things you can do, lots of product swaps you can do in your home. My offer still stands. Go to Green Home Coach and click on the Consult with Me link if you would like a freebie time to talk with me about the product swaps you can do in your home. Tony, do we need to do your home? You're already in good shape, aren't you?
I'm in good shape. I mean, one, I don't have a big home.
I know, that makes it easier, right?
It's just me in here. So I always start with what I use as far as, cutting down on my waste. But then again, it's easy for one person to manage their stuff versus, a family of 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. So use it up, swap it out, whatever works, but there's lots of different ways. And just thinking about it a little bit gives us all an opportunity to make what we have last a little bit longer and a lot more healthy. So there you have it, folks. Incremental green. You can do it one step at a time. Not hard. Just got to take that first step.
And be smart about it.
There you go. Well, hey, everybody. Really appreciate your time. Hope you found a nugget of information that will work for you and yours. And have a great green day. That wraps this episode of the Everyday Green Home Podcast. Ready to use what you learned? Get the show notes with all the resources mentioned in this episode. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening and for leaving a review. And remember that living a little better and greener is easier than you think.